marginalized communities. Unfortunately, those most severely impacted, including small island developing states, are not the ones contributing to the increase in carbon emissions that is largely responsible for the warming of the planet in the first place. Some studies suggest that unless significant progress is made towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere and replace fossil fuels as the main source of energy in our economies by 2030, we may be facing catastrophic climate impacts which would overwhelm our communities and pose an existential threat to our ecosystem. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to state that Dominica is fully committed to that cause and has taken action to respond to and mitigate against future disasters by integrating resilience into its Build Back Better and a stronger approach. Dominica is also committed to achieving the sustainable development goals of the Paris Agreement and has enacted laws and policies to encourage proper ecosystem management in a sustainable manner and to facilitate its major shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Government's major investment in the exploration and development of our geothermal resources is proof of its commitment to transitioning all sectors of its economy away from fossil fuels to clean energy sources. Mr. Speaker, the global crisis caused by the three challenges mentioned earlier in my address, namely the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russian-Ukraine war, and climate change, will no doubt compromise the capacity of SIDS relative to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as governments would have been forced to divert their focus and resources to address the new circumstances created by those aforementioned challenges. Despite these setbacks, many SIDS, including Dominica, have recognized the need to embrace sustainability through their own internal processes. However, SIDS cannot reach or accomplish the SDGs by 2030 acting alone. The support of the international community is critical. With most donor countries facing their own challenges, however, not least among which is the war in Ukraine and its global fallout, we here in Dominica have to say, thank God for the CBI. Progress towards the achievement of the 2030 transformative agenda has been challenged by the long-lasting impacts of Tropical Storm Erika and Hurricane Maria, the lingering impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, and the ongoing impacts of the Russian-Ukraine war. Despite these significant setbacks, government has been able to make noteworthy progress through the institution of intervention programs to ensure fulfillment of targets. This progress was quite evident in government's heavy investment in areas of health, including the construction of 12 new health and wellness centers and 2 brand new state-of-the-art hospitals. In addition, government has made significant investment in areas of education and training, tourism, agriculture, housing and physical infrastructural development to include the new Future Housing Program, geothermal energy development, international airport development, and in advancing the blue, green, and digital economy. We must therefore pause and ask ourselves, where are the funds to support all these investments without compromising our social programs and public servant salaries and wages coming from? And once more I say, thank God for the CBI. To ensure that these investments are properly targeted, efforts have been made to formulate a robust monitoring framework for the SDGs, working in collaboration with our development partners to ensure effective implementation and satisfactory ongoing monitoring of progress on the various targets. In this regard, the Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, CREED, plays a central role. Mr. Speaker, in order to overcome the pressing global challenges highlighted and to achieve the SDGs by 2030, it would not only need the targeted investments by government and its development partners, but also the support of the populace at large. I therefore encourage the private sector, civil society and other stakeholders, and citizens generally to take ownership of this ambitious and very important national agenda that is geared at creating a country that is more prosperous, more secure, and just. Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, permit me to touch on two additional matters that have become of great public concern lately. These have to do with the question of child abuse, including child sexual abuse, and the prevalence of illicit firearms and firearms-related offenses, including murder. Data obtained from the Social Welfare Division indicate a 20% increase in the number of reported cases of child abuse over the past 2 years, ranging from sexual abuse, incest, teenage pregnancy, neglect, and physical abuse. Child sexual abuse being most prevalent throughout the years, with a significant increase in the number of reported cases of neglect and physical abuse. The statistics prepared and collated by the Criminal Records Office of the Dominica Police Force gave a record of incidents of criminal offenses committed by persons who gained illegal possession of firearms and ammunition over the past 3 years. Such offenses include robbery, shooting incidents, fatal shootings, murder, intimidation with firearms, aggravated burglary, possession of firearms and ammunition, and discharging firearms. The 2019 and 2020 data analysis showed a 38% decrease. However, the 2020 and 2021 analysis showed a 16% increase, and the 2022 data collected thus far, when compared against the 2021 data, already show a 10% increase as a result of the possession of illegal firearms. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, fellow citizens, these two matters of concern, if not aggressively addressed by all members of society, will not only negatively impact our national security, but also the social and economic development and advancement of our country. This we cannot afford. Government has and continue to put in place the necessary resources and mechanisms needed to swiftly respond to incidents of child abuse and illicit possession and use of firearms. Although no law is perfect, we have perhaps the most robust firearms, sexual offenses, and welfare acts in the OECS. Nevertheless, these problems persist. It is clear that this serious problem should not be left solely to government, the police, and the Social Welfare Division to deal with. We all have a responsibility in promoting the welfare and safety of our children and eliminating the illegal possession of firearms. The criminal justice system, and by that I mean the courts, also have a very critical role to play in this fight. Severe penalties which serve as a deterrent, as provided for in the body of the robust pieces of legislation that have been enacted by Parliament to deal with these criminal offenses, should be meted out regularly. Such an approach would greatly help deter potential offenders and curb the incidence of such criminal offenses. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, given the pace at which new challenges continue to emerge, there is no room for complacency if we are to secure our survival as a small island developing states. We are indeed living in a troubled world, but we must be optimistic, as I am optimistic, that having laid the foundation for our development, we will prosper. We must take comfort in the words Jesus told us in John 16, verse 33, that here on earth we will have many trials and sorrows, but we should take heart because he has overcome the world. If we retain our trust in him, we will have our reward no matter what troubles that come our way. Let us work together as a people with unity of purpose to take our country beyond the benchmark of the SDGs by 2030. And Mr. Speaker, may the Spirit of the living God remain in this place and upon all members of this honorable House. I extend to you every good wish for a fruitful and successful session. God bless our people, and God bless the Commonwealth of Dominica. I thank you for your patience and attention.
I now take leave of His Excellency the President.
And as we speak, in Zavarish, the President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Angelo Sovereign, is making his way out of Parliament, giving a handshake there to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr. Joseph Isaac. So the President is being escorted by his secretary, and I'm trying to get her name, the Edika, right? And so he's going now on his vehicle with his wife, of course. Just had his remarks, his presentation, in fact, the President's address at the House of Assembly. And the next order of business, of course, would be, right. Well, address, right. Did you get the exact time, though, in terms of the duration of the President's address? Okay, I can recall once there was like a 43 minutes 1 year, and so in excess of 32 minutes. President of Dominica, Charles Angelo Sovereign, DAH. It is Budget Day in Dominica, the 26th, of course, of July. A beautiful Tuesday it is, as we bring you live the proceedings of the House of Assembly It's the first session, the first meeting,
of
the third session of the 10th Parliament in Dominica. And so the President has just left.
Yes, and the House will resume shortly.
Very shortly. The House will resume, and of course, we will get the rebuttal.
House resumes?
From
the opposition.
Right.
From
the opposition
leaders.
That will be tomorrow.
Speech, maybe tomorrow.
Yes, hopefully tomorrow. So the House has just resumed. The proceedings continue. I think there was some hitches sometime earlier in terms of the audio, yes. But we will try our best to ensure that this does not happen again. I think there's a new setup as well. A lot of progress has been made at the House of Assembly, the area for the media, some changes as well. So let me see if I can make my way on the inside as we continue to bring you live the proceedings of the House of Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, I move that a message of thanks be dispatched to His Excellency the President for what I and all of us believe was a very timely address from His Excellency the President. Thank you.
The question is that a message of thanks be forwarded to His Excellency the President. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Yes, we are members standing, so on the congratulatory remarks. Yeah, Honorable Revere.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is with the deepest of respect and as a proud Dominican that I stand here in this honorable house to congratulate the Honorable Joseph Isaac, Speaker of this honorable house, for being elected to the Board of Directors of PAL Americas after just 2.5 years upon being elected Speaker to this honorable house. I believe this speaks well for us here as a parliament in the way we conduct business. PAL Americas is an independent network comprised of national legislatures of 35 states from North, Central, and South America, including Canada, the United States of America, and the Caribbean. I also had the opportunity to witness him as chairman of a panel discussion on a virtual conference organized by PAL Americas, where there were as many as 100 parliamentarians from across the Americas. And ladies and gentlemen, I think he made us all proud. Honorable Isaac was also invited to the 6th gathering of the PAL Americas Open Parliament Network on Integrity Matters, Building Stronger Democracies, in March of 2022. In addition, he was invited by the House of Democracy and Republican Institute to be a panelist along with other congresspersons from the United States and Latin America on the topic how to combat corruption. Just recently, he was invited, he was given an invitation, of course, to be a panelist on climate change at the 65th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference in Halifax, Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this speaks well for Honorable Isaac, Speaker of the House, and I want to offer those congratulations. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, as I'm on my feet, I would please permit me to caution members of this honorable House who have the opportunity to attend such sessions. And we must understand, Mr. Speaker, that when we attend those sessions, we are not representing ourselves, neither are we representing a party, but we are representing the Commonwealth of Dominica. And as such, we should not use the opportunity to speak ill of our country. Mr. Speaker, I was very disturbed by some of the utterances I heard from a particular member. And I believe that we have to do better than that. We need to speak well of our country, especially when we are in those forums. And while I will not call the member name, but certainly I think I will take a drive, if I have to take a drive as far as Grand Savan, to caution the member so that he will behave in a more acceptable manner, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to offer congratulations to Dr. Herbert Sabroch, a former Minister of Government and a Member of Parliament, on attainment of his doctorate. Even at a late stage of his life, with hard work, he achieved this goal, and we would like to congratulate him. Thank you very much.
The 30th May 2022 be confirmed as circulated.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of 30th May 2022 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The minutes is adopted as circulated.
Announcements by Speaker.
Very special good morning to all the honorable members here this morning.
It's not going off.
It's off, it's off. It's off.
I would like to just draw the attention to the Honorable House of just some salient points. Our Hansard is currently up to July 2021. So we are just missing just 2 sessions though. We have invested significantly in regards to the infrastructure of the Parliament. Again, a move in really trying to uplift the Parliament so that we can show through what we are doing that the Parliament itself is really a separate body from the executive and from the judiciary. So we have invested over $268,000 for improvement in the AC, the audio system, and major renovation to the infrastructure. Also, in keeping with trying to encourage the unity of parliamentarians and to improve and increase democracy, we have invited all parliamentarians to participate in all virtual conferences that we have been invited to. And I think that there speaks volume of how we are thinking of how the legislature is supposed to operate. From that, I think all members are better prepared and would have a better appreciation for what we are trying to achieve. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Finance also, and that is because all what we have requested is actually happening. So I would like to thank them for being so in tune with what we're trying to achieve. I'd like to also thank the Printry, the media, the Cabinet Secretariat, and all government supporting ministries. A special thank you to the staff of the House of Assembly, especially our clerk, who is doing a fantastic job. Again, I just wanted to just point out those salient points there. Thank you.
Presentation of papers.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to learn the table the following.
Yes, on.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Proclamation proroguing Parliament SR&O number 21 of 2022. Proclamation reconvening Parliament SR&O number 22 of 2022. Draft estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2022-2023. Report of the Director of Audit of the Public Accounts for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. Report of the Director of Audit of the Public Accounts for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. And Dominica Social Security Annual Report 2020.
Government notices.
I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I'll be moving the motions and taking all stages of the bills shortly entitled 2022-2023 Appropriation Act 2022, standing in my name on the other paper.
Statement by ministers. Government business, public business, motion.
So, ready? To me. Yeah. Estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2023. Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2023, amounting to $1,119,823,003, the details of which are contained in the draft estimates of the Commonwealth of Dominica for the year ending 30th June 2023. Because 829,000 rather than 823, so $829,003. So, Speaker, I have the flu, so I'm hoping that I have the ability to read the entire budget statement. If not, I have Honorable Douglas on standby. But I am reminded by the words of Dominica's most popular entertainer, Suki Burnbrain, who said, I had a power breakfast. ... So I do hope that the power breakfast will see me through, of course, with the grace of God. Mr. Speaker, fellow Dominicans at home and abroad, colleagues, Your Excellencies, Speaker Emerita, Honorable Alex Boyd Knight, my brothers and sisters, friends all, good morning. I present the national budget to this Honorable House and to the people of Dominica, conscious that this country has much for which it can give God thanks. Today, to our nation and our people, like the psalmist David, I can say, and I quote, "I have never seen the righteous forsaken," end of quote. Ours continue to be a journey of faith for which we're seeing the rewards. Moving forward in faith against the headwinds caused by the most difficult global circumstances, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, this administration has been innovative, creative, committed, and unyielding in building a resilient, dynamic Dominica. Transforming this country and empowering our people. Today, through vision and relentless effort, through perseverance and hard work, through the sheer determination of our people, through the leadership of this government, today a different Dominica has emerged. A new Dominica is being built. A more developed Dominica now exists, and dynamic Dominica is within our reach. So while we are within touching distance, we must continue to stay focused despite the adversities, despite the challenges. As a government, as a people, we must continue to innovate and to use our resources creatively with security and opportunities for our young people, our absolute focus, being our absolute focus. It is with that realization, with all things considered, that I present this budget under the theme, Rising Above Challenges, Seeing Beyond the Horizon, Embracing All Opportunities to Deliver Dynamic Dominica. In this budget, therefore, I will speak to our achievements, our challenges, and our determination to maximize the potential of our young people, to realize our promise to our seniors, public officers, farmers, the business community, and other citizens, and to claim our future as a people and as a nation fighting to survive and succeed against unprecedented global turbulence. Mr. Speaker, this government has had one core policy: to improve the circumstances of our people in good times and in bad times. Against this background, I briefly review our solid achievements from the fiscal year 2021-2022, highlighting just a few areas, Mr. Speaker. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, are a set of 17 markers and goals for attaining sustainable development at the global level that focus on people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. The SDGs were developed by the member countries of the United Nations in 2015 with a prospective target date of 2030. Our National Resilience Development Strategy, NRDS, and the Climate Resilience Recovery Plan, CRRP, are aligned with the SDGs and guide our interventions in many areas. I am pleased to report that Dominica presented to the United Nations in 2022 its first voluntary national review on its progress towards achieving the SDGs. It shows that concrete action is being taken by Dominica to achieve these goals, and this is in line with our objective of making Dominica world-class while leaving no one behind as we press forward to dynamic Dominica. Mr. Speaker, this government values the health and well-being of our people, and this is why we have spared no effort to continuously improve the standard of health care available in our country. In the last fiscal year, most of the resources of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment continued to be devoted to meeting expenditure related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our efforts to prevent, contain, and treat this disease has been successful, and the population has been able to go about its daily business in a safe environment with no further mass outbreaks. Vaccine coverage is now at 53% of the target population, and a digital COVID-19 vaccination card is available for ease of travel. We have also made great progress in improving the health infrastructure in Dominica, an important component of the dynamic Dominica that we are building. The Dominica-China Friendship Hospital is nearing completion. One component, the Brenda Stafford Foundation Eye Center, was commissioned in May 2022. And in the words of Dr. Hazel Shinford Ricketts, and I quote, "It promises to be a center of excellence, not just in Dominica, but the region," end of quote. Mr. Speaker, this is truly a center of excellence, which is on par with any first world facility, providing a full suite of eye care services to our people. The center has 6 examination rooms, its own operating theater, and is equipped with modern high-tech equipment. These are amongst the many other features, all of which will go a long way in ensuring the delivery of top-notch health care to our patients right here in our country. Over the last fiscal year, the MRI and the HIFU machines were commissioned, and staff of the hospital trained in operating them. The HIFU machine can be used to successfully treat some cancers if detected early, and it allows for non-invasive treatments. In fact, Mr. Speaker, since the commissioning of the HIFU machine between March and July of this year, 11 procedures have been performed. And I recall, Madam Speaker, that there's some in our country and some in our midst who laughed at the HIFU machine and said it's foolishness carry talking about, Mr. Speaker. But those with no vision shall perish. And thank God this Labour Party has a vision for this country. And that we are seeing the fruits of that vision manifested to the benefits of every single Dominican, including those who laugh and chuckle about our progress. And so the availability of these machines will help Dominicans to travel overseas for medical care and treatment. These are important enhancements to the quality of care available on island, which could mean the difference between life and death for many of our people. It also helps position Dominica as a hub within CARICOM for the provision of specialized services and as a means of boosting medical tourism. We want to ensure that quality health care is available in a comfortable setting to everyone across this country. This is why we continue to make significant investments improving our primary healthcare system, while at the same time improving secondary and tertiary care. To date, we have completed construction of 12 new health and wellness centers with funding from our Citizenship by Investment program, and they are all in full use as I speak, Mr. Speaker. In addition, a new health and wellness center at Savonpai is now at an advanced stage of construction. In the last fiscal year, we continued several projects which included repairs to existing health centers, the implementation of the OECS Regional Health Project, focused on improving health facilities and strengthening lab services, public health surveillance and emergency management, and the completion of the Powerhouse Smart Retrofit initiatives. The new Marigot Hospital, which began in January 2020, is now complete, and we are currently installing the medical equipment and furnishings, Mr. Speaker. The new hospital allows for the decentralization of services, where patients will be offered a wider range of services. The presence of an ICU, operating theater, dialysis unit, among many other features, will ensure that patients in the Marigot Health District can now access improved services in a more timely manner. Mr. Speaker, all of these achievements, and many that I have not mentioned, such as the investments in training of our doctors, nurses, community health aides, as well as a new hospital authority, are all part of a deliberate plan to ensure that Dominica offers the best health care possible to our people, comparable to developed countries. Mr. Speaker, the advances made in education over the last decade have been tremendous. We are equipping our children from early childhood to the tertiary level to build dynamic Dominica. This is being done by a deliberate policy of this government to make education from early childhood to college accessible to every child in Dominica. Despite the disruption caused by COVID-19 to in-person classes, we ensured that students across the country had access to online education through the distribution of over 12,000 digital devices. Mr. Speaker, thanks to the assistance of the Canadian government, rehabilitation works at the cost of $4.4 million were completed this year on the Dalis, Monjon, and the Will Strathmore Stevens primary schools. The Granby Primary School is also being renovated with funding from the Canadian government. To date, an amount of $3.2 million have been spent. When completed, it will be renamed the Edward Regis Primary School in recognition of the great contribution that our fallen comrade, former Member of Parliament and Minister, has made to the people of Granby and to this nation. The Maho Primary School was also completed with funding from the CBI program at a cost of $7 million and is ready to welcome students in a new academic year. Mr. Speaker, our investments in education continue to bear fruit. Earlier this month, 398 students graduated from the Dominica State College, while a total of 175 students graduated with degrees in several disciplines from universities worldwide during the last fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, government continues to prioritize the transformation and modernization of the public service. We realize that an agile, resilient, and modern public service is key to the efficient implementation of government's development agenda, a national driver for doing business, facilitating investment, and delivering services to our people. Over the last year, although challenged by the COVID-19 pandemic, we moved closer to the completion of the public service reclassification exercise. A job analysis review and a job evaluation exercise was recently completed by a team of independent consultants. The job evaluation report has been submitted to the consultant, who is undertaking the final stage of this exercise, which is the review of compensation and salary structure. We are pleased that all the unions have been an integral part of the process. Mr. Speaker, government's promise to create opportunities for the upward mobility of teachers with a corresponding increase in pay counts as the most tangible and significant show of support to those working in the education sector. It also represents the fulfillment of a commitment I made to our teachers when I met with them in November 2019. To date, the following secondary school positions have been filled: 15 deputy principals, 7 assistant principals, 49 senior qualified teachers, 19 senior graduate teachers, 11 school counselors, and 62 heads of departments. A similar exercise has also commenced for primary schools. This restructuring exercise represents part of a broader commitment by this government to create opportunities for all public service employees so that they can advance in their personal and professional lives and help build a stronger, more motivated, and resilient public service. A total of 143 public and police officers received permanent appointments in the last fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, in March 2021, government signed a collective bargaining agreement with the unions for the period July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2022, which included a 1.25% salary increase and a one-off payment equivalent to 1 month's salary. I am pleased to report that in spite of the large unplanned expenditures as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, government has maintained its commitment to the unions, and the salary increases and the one-off payment have been effective. Mr. Speaker, this government remains strongly committed to improving housing for all the people of this nation, especially the most vulnerable. We are determined to achieve resilience in this sector. To that end, we have revised our building codes to ensure that new and renovated homes are structurally sound. We have supported our people in repairing and rebuilding their homes, and we are building new homes for our citizens. In the last fiscal year, 213 families were provided with keys to new resilient homes, Mr. Speaker. On September 16, 2020, government introduced yet another innovative and transformational program for Dominicans 40 years and younger, a program which provides $10,000 to first-time home builders and purchasers of a home. I am delighted to inform this Honorable House that the impact of this program on the youth has been tremendous. To date, the applications of 200 young people have been approved, and disbursements continue to be made for the purchase of building materials, payment of land or property transfer fees, construction-related services, and labor costs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our government and our country continue to record achievements in sports development. We recognize that sports is an avenue for recreation, health and wellness, providing entertainment, a source of foreign exchange, and personal earnings. We have therefore appointed a task force which has begun work on the framework for the establishment and operation of a sports council. Completed several sporting facilities across the island, the Massac Indoor Facility, basketball hard courts at Bath Estate and Mount Prosper, continued work on the La Plaine and Woodford Hill playing fields, as well as on the Geneva playing field project in Granby. We successfully hosted the second OECS ECCB International Netball Tournament at a new netball facility at the Windsor Park Stadium in February 2022. In July, Dominica proudly hosted international cricket at the stadium, our first international match since Hurricane Maria in 2017. We were pleased with the exceptional reviews received from multiple stakeholders, including the players from the West Indies team and also from the Bangladesh team and the West Indies Cricket Board itself. Mr. Speaker, apart from these achievements, many of our athletes excelled. We congratulate and salute these athletes, including Thea Lafont, Trinise Hamilton, Addison James, and all those who contributed to the success. You have done us proud, and the government is pleased to have been able to play its part. Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party government's commitment to improving the lives of the Kalnago people cannot be denied. We are mindful of the challenges to access financing because of the communal land ownership system, which has limited opportunities for their personal development. Therefore, we have continuously implemented measures to enhance their way of life and ensure their sustainable development. In fulfillment of our promise to the Carnago people, the Carnago Development Fund was established in March of 2022 and was capitalized with $860,000. That fund will improve access to finance for Carnago's residents in the territory, address unemployment, allow them to create wealth and improve their living standards. As of June 13, 2022, 11 applications valued at $369,123.33 were approved, while 41 other applications were under consideration. An additional $1 million will be placed in the fund during this fiscal year, as was promised in last year's budget address. We're also ensuring that the resilience of our Carnago people is strengthened in other ways. Construction of several homes are taking place throughout the Carnago territory. And so, utilizing our own funds and grant funding from the Canadian government, administered by the Caribbean Development Bank, a multi-purpose emergency shelter will be built in Bataka to provide a safe haven for 130 persons in the event of any disaster. Designs have been completed, and the tender process is expected to commence in the first quarter of the new fiscal year. And so I want to recognize the efforts of my colleague and friend, Honorable Frederick, for his leadership and representation of the Carnago people. Dynamic Dominica will rest on a healthy, well-educated, properly housed, and happy population. In Dominica, this government puts the people of this country first. Against every adversity and above all struggles, we are determined that the people of Dominica must advance. Mr. Speaker, agriculture is one of the most important sectors for the creation of employment, food security, sustaining rural livelihoods, and generating foreign exchange. This government therefore continues to invest heavily to transform this sector through the implementation of deliberate and sustainable programs and projects to support livelihoods and increase the sector's resilience and overall contribution to GDP. I will now highlight some of our major achievements over the last year. 1,573 acres of root crops, banana, plantain, and vegetables were established. 107.3 acres of tree crops, including cocoa, avocados, and citrus, were established. $817,000 was spent to manage the spread of black sigatoka disease. 400 farmers benefited from cash grants in a sum of $500,000. Farmers received over 300,000 high-quality vegetable seedlings and 6,472 fruit tree seedlings propagated by the Chinese Technical Mission. $7.1 million was spent on agricultural tools, fertilizers, and inputs to farmers. Building materials valued at $1 million were provided to livestock farmers. Mr. Speaker, we are fortunate in Dominica to have many friends supporting our transformation in agriculture, including the governments of the People's Republic of China, Japan, the Republic of Cuba, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Morocco. Dominica is also privileged to have the unwavering support from hemispheric development partners, such as the FAO, IICA, Global Affairs Canada, and UNDP, among others, who can identify with our challenges, needs, and opportunities with the agricultural sector. We say a big thank you to all of you. Mr. Speaker, as we move forward towards a digital Dominica and our goal to transform Dominica into one of the world's most digital advanced societies, I can inform this House that our digital economy strategy has been completed and approved by the Cabinet. This details our roadmap to achieve transformation, to deliver improved services and opportunities for our people. We are working with some of the world's best experts in this process. A technical advisory firm has been engaged to provide the project implementation unit and other project counterparts with day-to-day support to ensure that project activities will be carried out in the most efficient and cost-effective and well-coordinated manner. A legal firm has also been engaged to review and update the laws and advance on policy changes that cover the digitalization of public services and other digital transactions. Even more exciting is the fact that many young people whom we have trained are receiving job opportunities. In the last fiscal year, we have trained 121 young people to improve their skills, knowledge, and marketability to take advantage of the opportunities that exist online. They are now better equipped to participate in the gig economy. Mr. Speaker, the Small Business Enterprise Development Program is the Government of Dominica's flagship mechanism for assisting micro, small, and medium enterprises. Its goal is to improve access to finance and technical assistance. During fiscal year 2021-2022, we delivered on promises made in last year's budget address. We upgraded the services offered at the Small Business Support Unit by transforming the unit into a one-stop shop for all MSMEs, inquiries, information, financing, and other services, including technical support and advice. In March, government placed $27.8 million at the Aid Bank to on lend to small businesses at an interest rate of 3.5%. 67 applicants have so far benefited, Mr. Speaker, receiving a total of $4.3 million. In addition, 120 businesses have benefited from small grants to small agro-processors, manufacturers, app and software designers, health and wellness practitioners, and businesses in the creative industries. Mr. Speaker, although the tourism sector was the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, we were not deterred. We strategized and re-energized the industry with innovative products. Our rebranding of the destination and progressive health protocols led to an increase in total visitor arrivals. The early rebound of the sector is setting the pace for a promising outlook. The resumption of cruise ferry services and the introduction of daily direct flights from Miami to Dominica by American Airlines has increased visitor arrivals with a positive impact on other sectors of the economy. Mr. Speaker, arrivals by air in the 2021-2022 fiscal year tripled over that of the previous fiscal year. And we have already surpassed pre-COVID-19 numbers in the U.S. source market. This pattern of growth shows strong appeal of Destination Dominica and demonstrates that this country is on an upward trajectory. Mr. Speaker, as part of our stated objective to ensure that the international airport project will further accelerate the transformation to Dynamic Dominica, we have been pursuing an aggressive route development program in parallel with the airport development. We have been proactively reaching out and engaging in preliminary discussions with over 20 airlines operating in the Caribbean region, including well-known international carriers from North America and Europe. Owing to successful talks with cruise lines, government was able to secure 215 cruise calls to Dominica in the last fiscal year, the highest number in the last 5 years. 11 cruise ships made the inaugural call to Dominica, and a total of 149,000 passengers went on tours. This has marked the revival of the cruise sector post-COVID-19. Such milestones, Mr. Speaker, signifies the resilience of our tourism industry, even when faced with the most severe effects of external shocks, extreme weather events, and health emergencies. Mr. Speaker, robust infrastructure is essential for development and central to building resilience. We therefore continue to focus on building robust infrastructure and rehabilitation where required, to ensure that services and convenience are always afforded to our people, even in the advent of the worst storms. Utilizing funding from the United Kingdom government, an assessment of the vulnerabilities of our water systems was undertaken, and recommendations presented for building greater resilience. Final designs, cost estimates, and tender documents have been prepared for improved water systems on the East Coast, West Coast, Roseau Valley, and Calibishi. The tender process for these projects will begin shortly. The third water supply project to improve water quality, water storage, and service continuity in Water Area 1, network upgrade, also continued during last fiscal year. Water Area 1, located at Antrim, is Doasco's largest water system servicing domestic, commercial, and industrial consumers from Mero to Castle Comfort. As part of this project, a new laboratory was constructed and new equipment is being installed. In addition, 2 kilometers of 12-inch diameter transmission pipelines were installed along the Checkhall River from the new intake near Cochrane to the existing Springfield intake. The total cost of this project is $33 million. These enhancements to the system will help maintain the quality and reliability of the water supply. Additionally, a new $3 million water supply project to improve the reliability of service to Mount Prosper is nearing completion. That new system will boost the volume of water supply and the reliability of service to the community of Mount Prosper, which typically experiences severe water shortages during the dry season. The project involves the construction of a new 60,000 imperial gallons storage tank, a pumping station in Waterwaven, laying of a cross-country pumping line, and distribution line upgrades. Mr. Speaker, building resilience in our road infrastructure continued with work on the East Coast Road project, which is valued at $126.7 million. This project commenced in April 2021 and continues to provide direct and indirect opportunities for employment, with spillover financial benefits for neighboring communities. Currently, 150 individuals are employed under the project in various capacities: skilled and unskilled laborers, safety warden, truck owners and drivers, to name a few. Some of the other major roadworks undertaken in fiscal year 2021-2022 included the Hillsborough-Layo East Bridge, which was completed at a cost of $9 million. The Layo Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Project commenced. It includes the construction of 4 kilometers of road from the Hillsborough Bridge to the York Valley Bridge and the construction of river walls. The cost of the project is approximately $17 million. It is currently 50% complete and is scheduled to be completed by December 2022. A 40-meter wall to the east of the Collio Bridge was constructed to protect residents along the riverbank. An 80-meter wall to the east of the bridge is substantially complete and will protect the lower part of the village of Collio. The total cost of the project, or the two walls, is $2.4 million. In Dubla, a new bridge with a pedestrian walkway was also completed. Mr. Speaker, a new state-of-the-art building to house the Meteorological Office has been completed. It has been equipped, furnished, and will be commissioned by September 2022. The High Court and Registry have been relocated to the new location on the third floor of the Post Office building on W. General Charles Boulevard. In addition, 2 regional emergency shelters were officially opened in May 2022 at Jimmet and Castlebruce. These are fully funded by the European Union to the tune of $32 million. Together, these two shelters can accommodate 800 individuals. We thank the European Union for their most valuable contribution to improving the safety of our people. Mr. Speaker, last year we commenced works on government's top priority project, the International Airport. Although still in its relatively early stages, there are visible signs of its positive impact on the people of the Wesley and Woodfordale area. $24 million has already been paid by way of compensation to over 130 property owners. Affected residents who chose to receive a home instead of cash payment have begun receiving keys to their new homes at Joe Burton in Wesley. And lands have been reallocated to other property owners who opted for land swap. Mr. Speaker, to date, we have made significant progress on this project. The airport soils laboratory has been completed and is fully equipped. Construction of the project office has also commenced. That office would include accommodation for the project team. The environmental and social impact assessment has been completed and the geotechnical studies are ongoing. Driven by the findings and recommendations of the environmental and social impact assessment, several upgrades have been made to the project master plan to better reflect changes which will reduce the impact on the environment. Mr. Speaker, after a very rigorous tender process, I am happy to announce to this Honorable House that China Railway No. 5 Engineering Group Company, CR5, has been selected as the main contractor for the construction of the International Airport. CR5 is a reputable firm with extensive experience and a successful track record in the execution of major transport projects, including subway and railway lines, roads and airports in the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Based on the revised project timeline, the airport will be completed and commissioned by November 2026. And Mr. Speaker, like the hospital, like the stadium, like the Bellevue Shopping Housing, like the West Coast Road project, Mr. Speaker, like night landing at the airport, like the HIFU machine at MRI, the international airport shall be built in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Shall be built. Infrastructure and sectoral development are not end goals in themselves. This administration is using them to make lives better, improve the country, and ensure people-centered development. Mr. Speaker, in spite of lingering COVID-19 pandemic, the local economy showed strong signs of recovery in 2021. This was confirmed by the International Monetary Fund's Regional Economic Outlook for the Western Hemisphere in April 2022. According to the REO, real output in Dominica expanded by 3.7% in sharp contrast to a double-digit decline of 11% recorded in 2020. The rebound of the economy in 2021 was led by strong growth of 36.5% in the construction sector, with contributions from other productive sectors. In 2021, consistent with the strong performance of the construction sector, coupled with an increase in economic activity, value added in the wholesale and retail trade and the transport and storage sectors rose by 8% and 3% respectively. Real output in the agricultural sector continued to rise in 2021. For 2022, the IMF has projected a further growth of 6.8% for Dominica. This would bring total growth for 2021 and 2022 to 10.5%, which would take economic activities back to pre-COVID-19 levels. The operations of central government in fiscal year 2021-2022 results $380.8 million, despite numerous demands on its resources caused largely by the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, as of June 30, 2022, public sector external debt stood at $951.8 million, of which $869.6 million was central government's debt, while $82.2 million is debt guaranteed for statutory bodies. Domestic debt at that same time was $645.5 million. $580.3 million is held by central government, and $65.2 million is guaranteed for statutory corporations. For the most part, we have met the requirements of our medium-term debt strategy, and all debts were serviced on time. Mr. Speaker, the budget proposal for fiscal year 2022-2023 is predicated on 3 pillars: fiscal resilience and consolidation, investments for resilience, growth and sustainable development, and citizens' well-being. Mr. Speaker, the estimates of revenue and expenditure, which I will present shortly, take into account the need to continue our fiscal consolidation and financial resilience efforts. Our fiscal consolidation plan includes focusing on expenditure efficiency, and increasing tax collections. We have recently put in place robust frameworks, including new public procurement legislation and fiscal rules to support expenditure efficiency. To support our financial resilience program, we have developed a disaster risk financing strategy and new disaster financing instruments, including the Vulnerability Risk and Resilience Fund, with savings now at $11 billion. On the revenue side, we intend to strengthen tax administration, including taxpayer education, collection of arrears, and auditing of tax returns to ensure accurate reporting as a means of increased revenue collection. During this fiscal year, we'll also earmark a percentage of citizenship by investment funds for debt repayment. The outlook for fiscal year 2022-2023 suggests a slight improvement in government's fiscal position, with a primary deficit moving to 4.7% of GDP, owing to expected increases in revenue. We are in the process of finalizing the medium-term debt strategy for the 3-year period 2022 to 2025, and the debt portfolio review for 2021 is on schedule to be completed and published by September 20, 2022. Beginning this fiscal year, in order to improve management, governance, accountability, and transparency, government will implement a new reporting and monitoring system for state-owned enterprises, SOEs. They will be mandated to submit quarterly and annual financial reports based on approved standards. These reports will be reviewed by a monitoring and oversight committee, which will report its findings to the Cabinet. Total revenues are estimated, Mr. Speaker, at $1.13 billion and consist of the following: recurrent revenue in the amount of $896.2 million, local capital revenue totaling $5.1 million, receipts from loans in the amount of $77.1 million, grant resources in the sum of $155.17 million. Fiscal year 2022-2023 will see a drastic increase in total expenditure, reflecting the implementation of a transformative capital program. Total expenditure is estimated at $1.2 billion. Of this amount, $650 million is earmarked for recurrent expenditure, inclusive of debt amortization and interest, while $566.4 million will be allocated to capital expenses. In the fiscal year 2022-2023, non-tax revenue is estimated at $513.8 million, or 57.3% of total recurrent revenue. This is predominantly receipts from the Citizenship by Investment program, Mr. Speaker. Despite the exogenous shocks affecting the global market, the program has withstood all adversities and continues to provide an avenue for sustainable development and resilience building, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, had this administration not restructured the CBI, our citizens would have had to shoulder a much heavier tax burden, and many of the development programs which have taken this country forward so rapidly could not have been otherwise put in place. And so, yes, we thank God, Mr. Speaker, for the CBI program. Total tax revenue is forecast at $382.5 million, or 43% of total revenue, with value-added tax contributing $161.9 million. Mr. Speaker, the sums of $87.2 million and $66.4 million are expected to come from taxes on international trade and transactions, and taxes on other domestic goods and services, respectively. Personal income tax and corporate tax will collectively contribute 6.5% to the total recurrent revenue, while taxes on property amounts to $8.9 million. Total recurrent expenditure for the fiscal year 2022-2023, inclusive of expenditure provided by law, is estimated at $650 million. This amount is equivalent to the amount approved for the previous fiscal year 2020-2021, bearing in mind the need for fiscal consolidation. Mr. Speaker, the largest allocation of the recurrent estimate is under the Ministry of Finance in the amount of $258.1 million. Of this amount, $96.1 million is allocated to debt service payment. $42.7 million is appropriated for retirement benefits, which includes payments of gratuities, pensions, compassionate allowances, contractual gratuities, and non-contributory pensions. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence will receive the second highest allocation of $78.8 million. Mr. Speaker, this government continues to invest in our human capital, recognizing the importance of education to economic development, social stability, citizen empowerment, and upward mobility. The Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy has the third largest allocation in the sum of $65 million. The allocation has been increased to facilitate the increased cost of road maintenance and electricity. The Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs will receive an allocation of $61.1 million, or 9.4% of the total recurrent budget. This higher budgetary allocation will, in part, finance the transition to the e-passports, enabling our citizens to travel securely through borders. The Ministry of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment will receive $59.3 million, or 9.1% of the total recurrent budgetary allocation. Mr. Speaker, the allocation of $250.8 million for goods and services accounts for 39% of the total recurrent expenditure. The sum of $160.7 million, or 25%, is estimated to meet the cost of personal emoluments. The sum of $135.4 million is estimated for retirement benefits and transfers and subsidies, which comprise public assistance, grants and contributions to local, regional, and international institutions. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Dominica will continue to service its debt obligations in a timely manner. In this regard, $37.3 million has been allocated to interest payments, while $59.2 million is estimated for debt amortization and contribution to the sinking fund. And of course, in the printed text, we gave you further details of the allocation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this year's budget features major investments in infrastructure projects that will create jobs in agriculture, commerce, tourism, renewable energy, small business, and digital economy. During this fiscal year, government will continue to invest in building robust and resilient infrastructure to ensure the safety of our people, enhance the aesthetics of the country, improve access and connectivity, increase social interaction across communities, and support the economic development of our country. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware of Dominica's challenging terrain, which makes it sometimes 5 times more expensive to construct 1 mile of road compared to our neighbors in the region. In addition, we have higher rainfall than most, but no one can deny we have some of the best roads in the region, Mr. Speaker. Aware of Dominica's challenging terrain, which makes it sometimes 5 times more expensive to construct 1 mile of road compared to our neighbors in the region. In addition, we have higher rainfall than most, but no one can deny we have some of the best roads in the region, Mr. Speaker. That notwithstanding, we'll continue to invest in further improvements to make all our roads more resilient to disasters. This year, we will see the completion of the $18 million Layo East Coast Road project with a new and improved road alignment. This new road will improve connectivity between the West and East Coast and expand opportunities in agriculture and the tourism sectors. The $126.7 million rehabilitation of the East Coast Road from Bois d'Arbre through Castle Bruce and the Carnago territory and into Hatton Garden is scheduled to be completed by June 2023. Once completed, Dominicans, and in particular the people of the East, will drive comfortably on a resilient highway that is much wider and safer, with several new bridges and water crossings and improved lighting, Mr. Speaker. During this fiscal year, we will also reconstruct the Wharton-Waven-Mont Prosper Link Road. The previously used section of the road was destroyed by Hurricane Maria. The rehabilitation of road edge failures along the Imperial Road and the Dr. Nicholas Liverpool Highway, the procurement and installation of 3,750 meters of safety guardrails, the reconstruction of 50 meters of city fence wall along, and the rehabilitation of 75 meters of road at Scottshead, Mr. Speaker. In September 2022, capital works are expected to commence on various projects and capacity strengthening interventions under the water sector strategic development plan. This will be undertaken at a total cost of $107 million, utilizing grant funds from the government of the United Kingdom and counterpart funding from the government of Dominica. The primary goal of this project is to build climate resilience in the water sector, and will include substantial replacement of infrastructure and supply pipelines. Approximately 17,000 residents will all benefit from improved water services. Further, the proposed projects shall provide direct employment to at least 200 residents during the construction periods. The tourism, housing, and agricultural sectors will be impacted positively by the successful implementation of this project. In addition, new water intakes, water treatment plants, storage tanks, and the installation of associated pipelines will be constructed. The commissioning of these new facilities will result in vast improvements in water service reliability in the communities of Capuchin, Jubla, Bioche, Collio, Salisbury, Calibishi, Castle Bruce, Grand Fond, Mont Jean, Rivière Syrique, Shawford, Trafalgar, Faucony, Copthall, and Wharton-Waven. Meanwhile, water intake and access upgrade works, a new pumping system, and construction of a new storage tank at a higher elevation to serve the communities of Paybush, Moorpark, Bourne, and Dodan will commence this year under the Caribbean Development Bank Basic Needs Trust Fund 10 program. The estimated cost of this project is $1.88 million. These are major interventions, Mr. Speaker, which will improve the overall efficiency and reliability of the Paybush, Bourne, Dodan water system. Mr. Speaker, in recent times we have been seeing increased activity at the Ansdeme Port. The current traffic has outgrown the facility, and even more activity is expected as government constructs the international airport. In this fiscal year, government will commence the construction of a new jetty, a protected bay using rock armor, a slipway to get the boats to safety, customs and immigration offices, improved commercial spaces for local residents, and the enhancement of the fisheries locker rooms, among other improvements. And I can say I'm very happy for my friends of Ansdeme that their time is finally here. Designs have been completed, and an invitation to tender for works will be issued shortly. It is anticipated that works on this new port will commence no later than the first quarter of calendar year 2023. Mr. Administrative complex for the town of Portsmouth and indeed the North of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, decentralizing government services is an important component of a more resilient, more progressive Dominica. In this fiscal year, government will construct a modern administrative complex in Portsmouth. This complex will support the provision of increased public services to the north of the island, provide improved accommodation for public officers and the general public accessing services. The new complex will accommodate all of government's financial services in the north, including the sub-treasury, Dominica Social Security, and Inland Revenue. It will also include the Portsmouth Town Council, government offices, conference, training, and meeting rooms, among others. A parking lot and a bypass road will also be constructed to facilitate access, and lands have been acquired for this project. The designs have been completed, and in the coming weeks, the community will be further engaged on the proposed plans for this project. And so I'm very happy for the future of work. Mr. Speaker, as I said, work on the international airport has commenced, and this major project will be delivered to the people of Dominica by 2026. We have selected the right partner to ensure that this becomes a reality. During this fiscal year, we look forward to the following key milestones to be undertaken: the completion of mobilization for the commencement of work, construction of culverts for waterways, commencing earthworks by the end of this year, and cotton field activities to level the site. The development of this airport will increase opportunities for contractors, construction workers, engineers, plumbers, electricians, and other service providers. During the high volume of work, the supplies which will be required, as well as the expected high level of employment, many people and businesses in Dominica are expected to benefit during the construction of the international airport. Mr. Speaker, as I've said before, this airport will be a game changer for Dominica and its people. I continue to call on Dominicans to equip themselves for the opportunities which will be available once the airport is operational. I encourage students to begin pursuing relevant fields of study that will position them to take advantage of employment opportunities as air traffic controllers, specialized equipment maintenance personnel, firefighters, customs, immigration, and security officers, among others. Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, Dominica was ranked by Travel and Leisure magazine as the best island in the Caribbean for 2024. In this ranking, Dominica is described in these words, and I quote, anything but average island lures eco-travelers with a jumble of rainforest, volcanoes, hot springs, thunderous waterfalls, and black sand beaches. It has an undiscovered quality that can be rare not only in the region, but the world over. It's a dream for hikers, snorkelers, and all kinds of adventurers. But the island also offers pockets of over-the-top luxury, including this year's best resort hotel in the Caribbean, Secret Bay Endor. And it's not me that say it, Mr. Speaker. It's not me that say. These are independent people. Independent people saying this thing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to invest in the tourism industry to position Dominica as a world-class sustainable tourism destination. So when they criticize us for building too many hotel rooms, they don't understand, Mr. Speaker. But the people of Dominica and the international people understand what this government is doing for tourism, and it's really sticking with Dominica, and we shall take Dominica to the next level. This year, special focus will be given to 4 key areas: product development, marketing, the reimaging and reposition of the tourism industry, access to Dominica, visitor experience, including capacity building, training, beautification, and the restoration of the environment. Keeping our country clean and beautiful will be priority number 1 in this reimaging effort of this government, Mr. Speaker. To ensure that Dominica continues to deliver a top-rated experience to our visitors, government will continue to invest in upgrades, maintenance, and modernization of our main sites and attractions. In this fiscal year, 5 of our top attraction sites, Titu Gorge, Trafalgar Falls, Emerald Pool, Champagne, and Montrose, will be upgraded as we aim to ensure that our facilities provide quality services and amenities and ambience to enhance guest experiences. The only thing I would say on this, Mr. Speaker, is to remind the Ministry of Tourism that we have the only cold soufriere in Dominica, in my constituency. And we have one of the most spectacular waterfalls in Dominica, the Boanef Waterfall. And we're among the first communities to settle indigenous people in Vacas, and the first village to host a Christian Mass with Father Breton. That's in Vacas, Mr. Speaker. So we have many sites to develop also for tourists. We'll continue to invest. We'll continue to invest in community tourism in a number of areas, including supporting local groups, upgrading sites and attractions, assisting with marketing and packaging of community tourism offerings, boosting village feasts to improve the livelihoods of small tourism service providers at the community level. And oh, I forgot the Bat Cave in Tebow, Mr. Speaker, as well. Our goal is to ensure that small tourism enterprises have a digital footprint so they can be easily discovered by visitors. Mr. Speaker, the culture and the way of life of our indigenous people are an essential aspect of our tourism product offering. This government, having recognized this tremendous potential, established a task force to develop an action plan for the enhancement of the Kalinago tourism product, with the aim to launch the Kalinago pillar in this fiscal year. Towards this end, $350,000 has been allocated for the enhancement of the physical infrastructure, marketing support, and creative tour packages. We are optimistic that not only will we augment our visitor experience, but also increase the economic well-being of our Kalinago people. Mr. Speaker, Dominica's cultural heritage is integral to our high-quality tourism product and distinguishes our island from other tourism destinations. We are looking forward to the hosting of our internationally acclaimed World Creole Music Festival and Dominica's Carnival, the real mass, and after a two-year hiatus due to COVID-19. So it's going to be a massive World Creole Music Festival. One of the largest cable car projects in the world will be constructed in Dominica from Loda to the Boyden Lake, with an investment cost of $148.5 million. On completion, many who were unable to visit the Boyden Lake either due to time constraints or physical challenges will be able to visit this amazing attraction. The project will create direct jobs on the cable car operations, which include customer service representatives, operators, mechanics, tour guides, trail and facility maintenance. In addition, there will be new opportunities for taxi services, selling booths for local restaurants and other services. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to position Dominica as a destination of choice for ecotourism, sporting events, festivals, cultural activities, and conferences. The rave reviews we have received from the successful hosting of a thrilling weekend of international cricket earlier this month reinforces the opportunities to make Dominica one of the best sporting venues in the Caribbean. We have refocused our marketing strategy to partially highlight our key attributes as a nature island under 5 areas of focus: aqua, health and wellness, agro-tourism, adventure, and festivals and events. 2 additional areas will be established in this financial year: Kalinago Tourism Development and Romance in Nature. I knew the last one would evoke some reaction, Mr. Speaker, from all who are listening. Upon completion of the international airport, access to Dominica will improve significantly, which will further increase tourism arrivals and trade, leading to economic growth and job creation. While the airport is being constructed, we will continue to improve connectivity to Dominica through our main ports of entry. To accomplish this, we will continue discussions with targeted airlines to increase the options for convenient travel to Dominica. Advances in air access to Dominica is complemented by the rapidly growing hotel sector. By the end of 2023, we anticipate that 498 new hotel rooms will be added to our local capacity. Mr. Speaker, in an effort to prepare tourism service providers for the growth in this sector this year, priority will be given to customer service training to enhance visitor experience. Guest experience is critical to expanding the industry. Therefore, it is important that tourism stakeholders, including workers in the industry, see themselves as ambassadors of our country in performing their functions. Another key aspect of our resilience strategy is our sharp focus on national replanting and beautification, which enhances the tourism product and, of course, the general well-being of our citizens. Mr. Speaker, we have embarked on a national highway land restoration and beautification project to beautify our highways while paying close attention to replanting trees, which act as buffers to land slippage, trees which count towards reducing our carbon footprint, and fruit trees which can contribute to food security. This will be done on a phased basis, focusing on the EO Libla Highway, to be followed by the Imperial Road, that is from Canefield to the Douglas Charles Airport. Additionally, we'll continue to strive towards reducing our carbon footprint throughout the entire tourism supply chain by being more deliberate in our choices of packaging materials, construction practices, and the use of renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, as we pursue this goal of an iconic, sustainable, world-class destination, I wish to stress the importance of how our everyday actions as citizens impact the tourism product. We all have a role to play to ensure that we provide a memorable visitor experience that exceeds guest experience. Our country must be kept clean, and we must all continue to offer the warm Dominican hospitality to our fellow citizens and visitors. We must all embody the mantra that tourism is everybody's business. And I do not want to overstress the importance, Mr. Speaker, of keeping our environment clean and beautiful. And so the above-mentioned interventions will all ensure that the Nature Island product is world-class and second to none. Mr. Speaker, this government has always made agriculture a priority. Since the passage of Hurricane Maria, almost 5 years ago, this government has invested $145.6 million in agriculture to sustain livelihoods, ensure a consistent supply of fresh produce to meet local consumption, and to meet export demand. These government investments have resulted in economic growth, increased employment, and higher foreign exchange earnings. As we have for the past 22 years, this year we will continue with our investments in agriculture to the tune of $55 million, 8.2 under recurrent expenditure and $46.8 million under capital expenditure, representing an increase of $15.5 million over the last fiscal year. Our investments will be targeted to respond to the new and emerging global challenges, as well as opportunities to increase market share locally, regionally, and internationally. Our focus is on ensuring that we can increase productivity and production, while at the same time generating individual and national wealth. Our goal is to increase agriculture's contribution to GDP to $700 million by 2030. Our Agriculture 2030 plan will focus on the following. A, increase in production of 1, agricultural produce, 2, livestock, 3, horticulture, and 4, fishing, to eliminate the need for importation and to increase our exports. B, expand market share locally, regionally, and internationally to enhance the Nature Island brand. And C, increase agro-processing output to add value to agricultural produce. This budget is a demonstration of our efforts to establish a wide range of programs and projects throughout the value chain to achieve our goals. Mr. Speaker, by expanding cultivation areas, scaling up production through innovation and technology, encouraging new entrants into the markets, adopting requisite technology, and the introduction of new varieties, Dominica will be in a better place to produce consistently high yields, volumes, and quality. Government has made the policy decision to ensure that our non-traditional fruit and vegetable subsector is an integral part of Dominica's food system and to facilitate the transformative role that the agricultural sector will play in the economy. Produce such as bell peppers, broccoli, and cauliflower are gaining popularity among local consumers. And fruits such as cantaloupes, dragon fruit, strawberries, and blueberries can complement the local supply of watermelons and passion fruit. Tied to the global movement of an appeal for healthier foods, tropical and exotic fruits continue to appeal to local and foreign consumers, creating a strong position for Dominica to advance its agricultural sector. In fiscal year 2022-2023, government will invest an initial $1 million in the provision of greenhouses, saran netting locally also referred to as cover material, insect netting, equipment irrigation, and other necessities to ensure that fresh vegetables and fruits will be available and affordable year-round. This is fundamental if we are to reduce our food import bill and achieve food security. And I say to Ms. Virginia Girodel and people like Mr. Shillingford of Salisbury that we are coming for you to assist you in building capacity and so we can grow more food and supply our markets and export. Government will also continue its propagation program to ensure a minimum of 6,000 seedlings are propagated and distributed to farmers at a subsidized price as an incentive for production. Our propagation capabilities will be complemented by the increased capacity from the Agricultural Science Complex building at 1 Mile, which is being constructed to the tune of $13 million with grant funding from the People's Republic of China. It includes a 379 square meter tissue culture facility that will also afford us the ability to propagate more weather and pest and disease resistant plants. In addition, it will allow for genetic testing of plants and the opportunity to introduce new propagation techniques. Mr. Speaker, the consumption of bananas is a good source of vitamins and minerals that can help lower blood pressure and contribute to the health of one's heart. Several farmers continue to produce bananas with the support of this government, especially with inputs and to combat the spread of black sigatoka. Increased and targeted investments in banana will take Dominica to a step closer to satisfying the growing local demand and for export. A special fund in the amount of $1 million will be established to support large banana farmers. A fixed number of farmers will be targeted based on the historical performance and growth potential. I was extremely excited, Mr. Speaker, by a presentation made by a Mr. Colmer Shillingford, a banana farmer on the East, and the passion which he demonstrated when he spoke about his own banana cultivation and his commitment to that area. And I said to Mr. Shillingford, the government is coming to you very soon to help you build capacity. And friends like Dylas Warrington and Christophe Maxime of Bells and Kitwani Ferreira, who deals with the ripening and export of bananas. This government has listened to you, and we're coming to join forces with you to build capacity so we can take advantage of the markets out there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have developed a livestock expansion plan to take into account the concerns of our farmers on the rising cost of animal feed and chicks triggered by recent global events. We have the in-country capacity, infrastructure, and systems to increase our local production of chicks to meet the demand for locally produced chicken and eliminate the need for imports. For us to take full advantage of the poultry market, we must continue to build capacity in local production. To this end, government will invest in an initial 10 poultry farmers to increase the capacity to 10,000 chicks. The intention is to enable local farmers to be able to fully supply the local market with whole chicken, thereby negating the need for imports. In addition to this investment, government will also consider a license regime for the importation of whole chicken imported into Dominica. And I recognize people like Dr. Coulson George, who is a medical doctor, but one of the biggest poultry farmers in Dominica. So there are opportunities, Mr. Speaker, in agriculture if you are serious about it. And the government will work with you to even take you to the higher level. This fiscal year, we will rehabilitate the National Abattoir at a cost of $3.8 million to improve its operations and output. We have already begun restructuring the operations of the National Abattoir to accommodate the increased capacity. Our enhancement plan will include provisions for special processing and cuts, packaging, and branding of chicken and meats. We have already begun working on the enhancement of our payment system to ensure that payments to local suppliers to the abattoir are made more efficiently. Part of our livestock expansion effort also entails the development of a pasture and forage banks of locally available plant species. Undertaking the necessary research and development to formulate animal feed using local materials, as well as subsidize local hatcheries for a specific period of time till they're able to produce quantities and quality of chicks necessary to sustain local production and possible export. Government will invest $345,000 to begin exploration of those activities. Mr. Speaker, once farmers are assured of a reliable market at a reasonable price, they will produce. In our efforts to incentivize farmers to increase production this fiscal year, government will make available an additional $5 million to Dexia as a revolving fund for the procurement of agricultural produce from our farmers. Dexia, through the multipurpose pack houses, will become the organized buyer armed with the responsibility for logistics and packaging solutions to enhance our market needs of quality, price, and consistency. These funds will enable Dexia to expand its role as a main facilitator in the market and to channel Dominica's agricultural produce within our domestic and foreign markets. In order to equip farmers to take advantage of this opportunity, we will provide $3.7 million to strengthen at least 5 new farmer producer organizations and crop production clusters to improve economies of scale. This measure ensures that production can increase food production. Producers can increase food production and are assured income by having stable buyers for fresh produce. Mr. Speaker, Dominica's youth, and in particular young professionals with qualifications in agriculture and related fields, are viewed as a respected resource for the modernization and advancement of agriculture in Dominica. They bring their technological competencies to complement our traditional farmer base that will help devise concrete solutions to the many challenges which confront the growth and true potential of the sector. Government is determined to leverage the talents and skills of our youth as a game changer for agriculture in Dominica. We are aware that there are several influencing factors which affect their participation in agriculture, including their farming experience, access to credit, and land access, among others. In fiscal year 2022-2023, government has earmarked $1 million to support young people with the drive and passion to farm and form alliances to set up on a farm for the first time or to modernize and expand their current farm facilities. This support will include grants for startup capital, labor, and supplies to eligible young people. Through these investments, young Dominicans will be able to enhance their participation in Dominica's agricultural sector, boosting overall productivity and increasing individual and household incomes. We have developed an agricultural policy framework that is in keeping with the government's commitment to become the world's first climate resilient nation. It outlines a vision for a resilient and sustainable agricultural sector, which promotes innovation and technology in order to guarantee increased yields, quality, consistency of production, safe and nutritious fresh produce. In this fiscal year, at least 50 farmers who are already in active production will benefit from a greenhouse introduction and repair program, and 40 acres of cultivated farms will benefit from farm irrigation units. In this fiscal year, irrigation systems will be installed in the farming communities of Calibishie and Salisbury. The estimated cost of these 2 systems is $486,000. We'll also identify and build a register of vacant agricultural lands that can be put back into production. We will encourage the leasing or sale of lands either directly to the government or to private individuals. We anticipate that by next year, government will have in place a system to make these lands available to interested farmers. As the agricultural sector develops and becomes increasingly commercialized, technology transfer and advisory services will need to be strengthened and specialized. This is particularly relevant within the context of the plans to transition towards greater use of innovative and technology-driven extension services. Our goal is to shift the focus of extension services to a demand-driven service supported by a series of demonstration farms owned by the government and private farmers. This will allow farmers and new entrants into agriculture to be introduced to new farming techniques, varieties, and the use of technology. Mr. Speaker, implementing measures to increase domestic consumption is critical. Our purchase of local produce will help to create employment for our people, reduce our food import bill, and improve our balance of trade foreign exchange. As we expand production of agricultural produce, livestock, and value-added products, we will implement a special licensing regime on imports where there is adequate domestic production to supply the local market. DEXA and the National Abattoir will work with supermarkets to ensure the consistent supply of quality local produce and products. We commend the owners of our local supermarkets for their existing arrangements with farmers. It is not our intention to disrupt any working relationships that exist. Our aim is to facilitate, strengthen, and expand the linkage between local supermarkets and local producers where necessary. Implementing measures to increase exports historically, Mr. Speaker, Dominica has been a major supplier of agricultural produce to our brothers and sisters within the Caribbean and to a lesser extent to North America and Europe. Our market share continues to be challenged by competition from other regional and extra-regional competitors, inconsistent supply of quality and quantity, and the new and increasing demands being made by consumers. This year, DEXA will reinstitute its credit facility to hucksters to facilitate the purchase of produce for exports. In addition, an additional $1.5 billion will be invested in the establishment of Buy Dominica Depot in strategic Caribbean markets. Collaborative arrangements will be reached with private investors in St. Kitts, Antigua, and Tortola, and full depots with ripening rooms will be established in St. Martin and St. Thomas. The investment in ripening amenities, cold storage, and vending outlets is meant to increase the country's attractiveness as a supplier and offer combined shipments and a wider assortment of fresh produce in larger volumes on the market. Investing in these depot-type facilities will help ensure that fresh foods are available, accessible, and affordable to all consumers, and will open new avenues to be part of untapped value chain opportunities in these countries. These are fundamental if we are to position ourselves to lead on the achievement of food security in the region in the years ahead. Government will set aside an amount every year for more aggressive marketing and promotion of Dominica's products and produce. We'll establish a special team within the Ministry of Trade whose only tasks are to promote Dominica's products and find new markets locally, regionally, and internationally. This year, we have allocated $1 million for marketing and promotion of Dominica's produce and products. However, this allocation will increase once the team strategy is in place and the program is fully underway. So, Mr. Speaker, the same way we go about promoting tourism around the Caribbean and the world, in the same way we'll go about promoting our agricultural produce and products in the region and the world to fetch markets and create markets for our farmers and producers. Adding value to agricultural produce extends its shelf life and increases its economic value. We are therefore determined to support the growth and development of agro-processing, to make a greater contribution to our economy, and especially to reduce our food import bill. Work on the design and the necessary studies for the development of a national agro-processing facility is ongoing in partnership with the CDB. To support the growth of micro and small businesses engaged in value-added production, we'll continue to support them. And I will thank people like my friend Imani and also Dr. Defoe for their steadfast leadership in agro-processing, Mr. Speaker. And to this end, government will provide $5 million in grants to small businesses, part of which will target micro agro-processors engaged in developing value-added products, provide a separate facility of $1 million to support our producers of local juices to be able to expand and enhance their production. And I say to my friend, Mr. Carty, you are one of them. We want to build capacity in local juices, Mr. Speaker, and Conway Williams. All of these people who are producing local juices, using our fruits from the farms and farmers. And this is what we want to have on our shelves in Dominica. Not juice from Russia and from Ukraine. And now we can't even get them, Mr. Speaker, because of the war in Russia. Lease industrial sheds and land from 8 Bank from its industrial estates in Canefield and Granby to provide space for setting up a facility to provide support and services to micro processors. The world is moving towards organic, natural products, and the Dominica Essential Oils Cooperative wishes to position and capitalize on the opportunity that exists for organic products. There has been an increasing demand for natural essential oils, and the market demand for bay leaf oil has also been growing exponentially. This presents great manufacturing and market potential opportunities for the use of the bay oil in development of highly priced products. Government will provide a grant in the amount of $100,000 to the Dominica Essential Oils to facilitate the production of hand sanitizers and other finished products using local produce positions. Also this year, government will continue the rehabilitation of the following farm access roads: Carhome Road via Mero, Bopla at Paybush, Mango Gutter Wesley, Formy in Castle Bruce, Agricultural Station Road in Laplane, Grand Riviere in Laplane, Macaton in Granby, and Middle Ridge Road in Calibisham. And of course, this wonderful road there, Dr. Mark, in Mount Prosper, to the wonderful farmers whom I visited some weeks ago. It is government's intention to continue the farm access road rehabilitation program for a group of roads every year, giving priority to those serving high production areas until all of the roads are repaired and properly service positioned. Mr. Speaker, rehabilitation work will continue on the Roseau and Marigot fisheries complexes. They will serve as a centralized location for fish post-harvest and quality enhancement services geared towards export and local market distribution needs. Over the last 6 to 8 years, net fish landings have increased steadily, with greater emphasis placed on the quality of fish on the local market. This achievement has largely been attributed to sustained efforts from government in partnership with the government of Japan. In addition, government is in the process of establishing new management structures for the fisheries complexes, including public-private partnership, to provide professional services for the implementation and maintenance of the HACCP system to meet international standards. Government will also focus on restoring, enhancing, and establishing key services, infrastructure, slipways, and equipment on a community level at selected fish landing sites, inclusive of FADs owned by the government. Interventions costing $700,000 are expected to be undertaken in Scottshead, Soufrière, Fokole, Bioche, Jubla, Saint-Sauveur, and of course, Maho, Mr. Speaker. Maho, among other fish landing sites aimed at collectively improving the overall resilience of the fisheries sector. The objectives of the upgrade of these community infrastructures are clear: for the development of sustainable local fisheries and to support growth of a range of blue economy sectors, namely tourism and trade. Mr. Speaker, our farmers have assured me that they are ready to transform agriculture to achieve the target of $700 million contribution to our GDP. As has been presented, government has begun putting measures in place to achieve this target. This will be an opportunity for sustainable development and increased wealth for our farmers. There will be significant spillover benefits for agro-processors and the private sector, so we encourage every Dominican to give priority to the consumption of our local produce and products. Mr. Speaker, these significant investments in the development of our agricultural sector will position us to secure our place as a food basket of the Caribbean. The success of our efforts the success of the efforts of our farmers depend heavily on the consumption practices of our citizens and residents. I therefore reiterate my call to us all to give priority and preference to buying local. I have said there's no reason, absolutely no reason, why the Commonwealth of Dominica should be importing bottled water in Dominica when we have tropical water here. Absolutely no reason, Mr. Speaker. And there's absolutely no reason why we should get carrots from Europe through Guadeloupe when we have the best carrots produced here in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. We have to consume, we have to consume. It is we, the consumers, who can make the biggest difference in the lives of farmers, Mr. Speaker. When we go to supermarkets, let us make the choices, Mr. Speaker, and we call on our consumers to buy local and support local, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we move to develop a medicinal cannabis industry, we have been working with the Impact Justice Project to prepare the legislative framework. A technical committee, which includes a wide cross-section of stakeholders, has been appointed by the Cabinet and is considering the significant elements necessary for a successful medicinal cannabis industry. This fiscal year, while work is continuing on a new legislative framework, we will take legislation to the House to permit agro-processors engaged in the manufacturing of byproducts of cannabis to purchase cannabis locally. Agro-processors will be required to carry licenses granted by the Commissioner of Police and other regulating agencies. Furthermore, we will decriminalize the sale of byproducts of cannabis, such as balms, oils, and creams produced locally. Mr. Speaker, micro and small business owners can now apply for fiscal incentives licenses at the Small Business Support Unit in line with the government's decision to upgrade the unit into a one-stop shop for small enterprises. In last year's budget address, government announced that the Small Business Unit would be refocused to expedite processes for small business applicants, including requests for concessions under the Fiscal Incentives Act. The Cabinet has approved new guidelines for the granting of fiscal incentives licenses to micro and small enterprises effective July 1, 2022. The responsibility for investments by micro and small enterprises has been reassigned from Invest Dominica Authority to the Ministry of Tourism, International Transport and Maritime Initiatives. The processing of fiscal incentives is a significant addition to the existing portfolio of the Small Business Unit, which provides grants, business advisory services, technical assistance, and marketing support to small businesses. Mr. Speaker, the $27.8 million loan facility for small and medium enterprises remains available at the Aid Bank. Earlier this month, government and the Aid Bank adjusted the agreement to allow more flexible repayment terms for businesses engaged in seasonal activities, such as our taxi and craft operators. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that $1.5 million will be placed at the Aid Bank to lend to those in the taxi business to purchase these coaster buses to enhance our ability, Mr. Speaker, to provide better services. And I want to big up some of my friends here. Thomas Reiner, who's a UWP guy from Mao, but a good friend of mine, Mr. Speaker. And Shepard Fergis and Reynold Alson, a very huge talker in Granby, Mr. Speaker. And Philip Giss, better known as Jenner, and Kelly the Ghost Williams, and Saxon Laura, who provide me with that kind of advice, and is here in Parliament today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this year, government, with support from the UNDP, completed the development of the country's national digital transformation strategy. That strategy represents a vision that by 2026, driven by digitally skilled people, Dominica will be a vibrant, inclusive, and resilient digital economy with affordable, reliable connectivity and efficient online services to accelerate growth, innovation, and sustainable development. The strategic priorities for digital transformation in Dominica include people, business, and government. Government will focus on the transformation of key sectors, such as education, healthcare, agriculture, fisheries, tourism, and the financial sector. The government of Dominica will pursue internship opportunities to individuals who have successfully completed the digital training courses offered under the project. The individuals who meet the criteria will be placed at institutions, businesses, and government agencies for a period of 5 months for on-the-job learning and development. Further, the project will be rolling out a training program for small to medium business owners and managers, which will equip them with digital skills, such as the ability to sell his or her products online, online content management, effective use of social media, etc. This is part of an advanced digital skills development and job coaching program that is being implemented under the project. We will also invest $1.85 million to create 15 innovation hubs around Dominica. Government believes that no one should be left behind, and this digital transformation is meant to benefit every citizen in every corner of Dominica. These technology hubs will be equipped with state-of-the-art equipment, which will be used to provide free training courses and resources to educate and retool all our citizens. These hubs will provide a space to nurture and encourage innovation in the communities. The hubs will also serve as venues to discuss information technology projects, as well as a space to pitch ideas and projects to international, regional, and local stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, generating power from renewable resources creates energy independence and can reduce the impact of the escalation in the price of fossil fuels on the international market. We therefore remain committed to the development of our first geothermal plant in the Roseau Valley. On February 15, 2022, a $33.7 million contract was signed with Iceland Drilling Company. They will drill 2 additional wells in Loda towards the end of 2022. In preparation for the drilling of the wells, a contract was signed with Ace Engineering Limited on April 28, 2021 for $8.5 million to prepare the well paths and access roads. They are nearing completion of the first well path and access road and have started work on the second well path. Once the wells have been drilled and tested, we will proceed with the construction of the power plant. The preliminary designs for the power plant have been completed, and we will sign the commercial agreements and begin mobilization for construction of the power plant this year. The construction period is estimated at 18 months. We expect by 2024, our 10-megawatt geothermal plant will be online, Mr. Speaker. We have also awarded 2 contracts valued at US $2.5 million for the preparatory work for the development of the transmission network from the Roseau Valley to Fokole and from Fokole to Sugarloaf. Mr. Speaker, this transmission network will make it possible to connect the hydro and geothermal power plants from the Roseau Valley to the rest of the country. The upgraded lines will result in a reduction of line losses and will be built to withstand the impact of a major climate-related event. This is a significant component of our climate resilience plan for the electricity sector. Geothermal power will eliminate the fuel surcharge currently paid by consumers of electricity. This will result in a significant reduction in the price of electricity to all consumers, Mr. Speaker. I say to our young people that the investments that we are making in the development of our geothermal resource is really for you, the young people. A future Dominica with high-paying jobs and careers in the areas of geological sciences, geothermal energy, project management, mechanical, industrial, and electrical engineering will be available. And let us go to school, take the opportunities that have been provided by this government to pursue studies in those areas. There will be opportunities for our young entrepreneurs and the private sector to be innovative and develop new businesses in areas such as logistics services, utilities management, environmental management, and spatial planning, among many others. Against climate change and economic shocks, against pandemics and resource scarcities, against global market uncertainty and supply chain disruptions, this government is building our people's resilience and securing our nation's sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, when this chapter of Dominica's story is written, this Labour Party government will be cited as a government which represented the interests of every Dominican and transformed their lives, livelihoods, and circumstances. Over the past 2 decades, we have implemented a slate of programs to support and protect the elderly, provide equal education opportunities for young people, grant incentives for micro, small, medium, and large businesses, provide extensive financial and technical support to farmers and other producers, introduce numerous tax relief measures, upgraded main and community roads across our country, ensured access to new modern healthcare and health facilities, improved and upgraded sports facilities. All of these, along with many other measures implemented by this government, have positively impacted the way of life of every resident in this country. Mr. Speaker, as we forge ahead to implement our resilience agenda, our people remain our central focus. Therefore, notwithstanding the need for fiscal consolidation, after 2 years of sluggish revenue collections, government has included all of its traditional social programs in this year's budget. Mr. Speaker, government will enhance the primary healthcare system. The current system served us well in the past and remained a model system for several decades. However, we are of the view that we must, as a nation, as a people, redouble our efforts to tackle head-on the issue of chronic non-communicable diseases through the enhancement of our primary healthcare system. PAHO has gladly accepted our invitation to partner with us in this endeavor, and a roadmap has been prepared. Activities under this initiative will include technical support to foster an integrated approach between primary care and hospital care. This will include electronic health records integration, communication and coordination of health teams supported by an all-in-one telehealth platform with connectivity to the Dominica China Friendship Hospital for telehealth, which will facilitate more timely care upon arrival at the hospital. Also, we will see an increase in health promotion and training of healthcare providers to support prevention and management of NCDs consistent with our healthy lifestyles and wellness goals. In an effort to advance and implement actions needed to combat NCDs in our country, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment will appoint a national coordinator on NCDs effective September 1, 2022. It is our hope that this and other actions taken by the ministry will signal an urgency for all of us to take preventive measures to combat NCDs. Additional improvements in primary health care will be facilitated by the recently commissioned Health and Wellness Centers. This year, government will commence construction of new health and wellness centers in the city of Roseau, St. Joseph, and Grafton, while a 7-pipe facility will be completed in this fiscal year. We also expect to commence and complete designs for the new Regional Armor Hospital in Portsmouth. and for works to commence immediately thereafter. You like it? You like that budget? Mr. Speaker, members of Mr. Main, you like the budget? In his accent, eh? Mr. Speaker, these initiatives will ensure that a resilient Dominica is predicated upon a healthy people and a sound, effective healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, with the opening of Dominica's 2 new hospitals, healthcare clinics and facilities, new skills and competencies will be required. In addition, new jobs will become available. There will be a need for additional lab technicians, scrub technicians, nurses, and other healthcare workers, as well as pharmacists and other ancillary and support personnel. We encourage our citizens to ready themselves for these new employment opportunities. Mr. Speaker, this government is committed to helping our children build a solid foundation to excel, not only academically, but also in their social development. To realize this goal, we will upgrade the Caleb Laura, Jones Bope, Sally Bay, and Castle Bruce primary schools to increase access to early childhood education. The designs for the Goodwill Secondary School, as well as the Thibault, Tetmon, Calibishi, and Siniku primary schools, and the Bellevue Chopin primary school, have been finished and are on course for construction to commence in 2023. We are grateful to the People's Republic of China for its generous gift, and also to the patience and understanding of the residents of the communities where these schools are to be constructed. There are times we must all subscribe, Mr. Speaker, to the old adage that good things come to those who wait. And I can say to these communities that your schools will be of the highest class and quality anywhere in the Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, I have said repeatedly that the Dominica Grammar School is an iconic school in our country, and no one can contest this. And therefore, the architectural designs and aesthetics must befit its contribution to this country. Work has started, I can report, Mr. Speaker, on a new Dominica Grammar School, and will continue in this fiscal year to bring this vision to reality. Mr. Speaker, some $43 million will be spent on this facility. And some of the amenities will include, but are not limited to, a massive auditorium, sporting facilities, modern science labs, libraries, and enhanced and improved facilities for our teachers. Further, Mr. Speaker, I'm a grammar school boy, so are you. I think Mr. Litton was there, but he didn't stay too long. But we're all grammar school boys there, and I'm sure all of us will be happy, for that. Further, Mr. Speaker, we look with excitement to the construction Further, Mr. Speaker, we look with excitement to the construction of an early childhood facility at the Baroness Scotland Primary School in Vegas, to be funded by the Mario Holder Memorial Trust, and I place on public record our grateful gratitude to the Mario Holder Memorial Trust, who invested so much in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Works will also continue on the rehabilitation of the Grand Bay Primary School and the Castle Bruce Primary School. We are determined to provide access and ensure a comfortable learning environment for all our children. Mr. Speaker, experience has shown that students' enrollment in clubs create a more balanced learning environment, builds students' confidence and social skill, and provides opportunities for them to undertake their civic duties. With this in mind, government will appoint a director for the 4-H within the Ministry of Education to lead the expansion and development of the 4-H club in our primary and secondary schools in Dominica. Additionally, the tender process for the rehabilitation of the Dominica State College is almost complete, and a contract will be awarded by early August 2022. Mr. Speaker, since the departure of Ross University, government has received several expressions of interest to establish a medical school at that facility. I am pleased to announce that after several months of negotiations, government has finalized and entered into an agreement with CSOM Holdings Limited for the operation of a medical school at the former Ross University campus at Pica, which will be named the American Canadian School of Medicine. Mr. Speaker, those with no responsibility to anybody except themselves can laugh, you know. And they can laugh at the country's challenges, and they can laugh at the country's upward mobility. But that's okay. That is why they will languish where they are, Mr. Speaker, in opposition. They will languish where they are. Mr. Speaker, the school will offer a 4-year medical degree designed for students who have already completed bachelor degrees and be run by an experienced team comprising doctors who have held positions at major universities in the United States, including a former vice president of operations of the Ross University School of Medicine. Most of the students are expected to come from Canada, the United States of America, and the Caribbean. Initial preparations for September 2023 commencement have started and will accelerate over the next few months. I urge all Dominicans to be prepared for the opportunities which will be created with the return of a medical school to Portsmouth. We are optimistic about the potential of this new school and its positive impact on Dominica and on the people in the North in particular. So, God is good, Mr. Speaker, and God will never forsake us as a country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while housing traditionally has not been a primary responsibility of any government, this Labour Party government has recognized our social responsibility to our people. Natural events have also reminded us of how important it is to a family to have a safe and secure dwelling. This government's housing revolution is unprecedented, not only in Dominica, but I dare say in the Caribbean. This government has facilitated thousands of families to own their own homes by several mechanisms, including the provision of funds at low interest rates to financial institutions, provision of cash and building materials to assist families to build their own homes, and in most cases, Mr. Speaker, the government has financed and constructed homes for vulnerable families across the length and breadth of this country. This year, government will construct no less than 700 new homes, Mr. Speaker, for families across Dominica. It's important to note that we have the committed financing to achieve this. Mr. Speaker, there are several components of the housing revolution, but today I will focus on the newest component, the Future Housing Program, targeting young professionals and young people in our country. That program was formally launched on July 17, 2022, and has garnered tremendous interest from our young people. Mr. Speaker, under this program, government will construct homes which will be available for purchase by young people employed in the public service or the private sector in Dominica, and eventually Dominicans residing in the diaspora. I am now pleased to report that we have commenced the first phase of the program under the theme Empowerment Through Ownership, a Path to Generational Wealth. The first phase will target young people residing in Dominica and employed in the public and private sectors. These homes will contain 2 or 3 bedrooms with an option to add other amenities based on the individual's financial ability. To ensure the full participation and input of the youth to whom this program is targeting, we have established a 21-member group made up of young men and women within the public and private sectors who have been serving as advisors to the government on this initiative. These millennials have already started working fervently on the program and have made recommendations on the master plan to include designs, amenities, and landscaping. The group has also recommended a residence policy and a community management plan for the development. Mr. Speaker, under this program, government will construct homes in Warner and in Cotton Hill in Portsmouth in the first instance. Government intends to extend this program to Granby and Hillsborough Gardens in the second phase. Mr. Speaker, I am also pleased to announce that we have tremendous support from all the unions, both the public and private sector unions in Dominica. A number of financial institutions have consented to partner with us to provide mortgages, and some of them, Mr. Speaker, have offered mortgage rates as low as 4% interest rates. 4%. These institutions which will partner with us include the National Bank of Dominica, the West Coast Credit Union, Central Cooperative Credit Union, Republic Bank, Marigot Cooperative Credit Union, and the National Cooperative Credit Union, and of course the Government Housing Loan Board. Also, Mr. Speaker, some suppliers of building materials, furniture and appliances, insurance companies, and contractors have accepted the invitation to partner with the government in this effort, recognizing that these investment opportunities can result in positive wealth creation and growth for all sectors of the economy. And the homes, Mr. Speaker, will be sold at a highly discounted rate to the young people of our country to ensure that they can own the home. And those who want to laugh at these things can laugh because they do not know how Dominicans live. They don't engage Dominicans, and they cannot respond to the issues which Dominican people speak to them about because they don't care, Mr. Speaker. But we have a responsibility, and we respond with the resources that the Lord provides to us in a practical and a positive way to our people. And I'm so excited for our young people who will be able to own their homes in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, our investments in sports will continue this year. Government will move ahead with a number of initiatives to use sports as a tool to achieve our goal of building stronger communities. Mr. Speaker, the restoration of the lighting of the Windsor Park Sports Stadium to boost the continued hosting of local, regional, and international sporting activities after dark will commence. This is expected to increase social and economic opportunities for our people, businesses, and country. In addition, work will continue in the rehabilitation and restoration of a number of playing fields and other sporting facilities, while in partnership with the Dominica Olympic Committee, government will actively pursue the establishment of an Olympic-sized synthetic athletics track at Point Round. And I want to pause here to commend the efforts of Mr. Billy Doctorow, the president of DOC, who has been able to secure some funding from the IOC to go towards that project, and great leadership, Billy Doctorow. While we deal with arrangements to finalize the framework to establish a National Sports Council, the government is moving ahead and will create a National Sports Trust Fund by September 2022 at the National Bank, capitalized with resources from the government and the Dominica National Lotteries Commission, totaling $500,000. This fund will be used to assist athletes and people engaged in other sporting events preparing for international competition. So any athlete who's going to prepare for any international regional competition, they will be able to access this funding so that they can focus more on their athletics rather than work on athletics, Mr. Speaker. And this is going to go a long way in building our sports. Mr. Speaker, during the last fiscal year, government partnered with Clare Harbor to open a new call center at the General Hall in Portsmouth. This has created employment for 176 young people. We are in the process of setting up another call center, targeting the employment of another 300 people by October 2022. And that again, Honorable Douglas, will be in Portsmouth, creating more jobs for the North of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, Dominica's social stability and the ability to retain our youth as nation builders rest on our investment in citizens' resilience and well-being. Mr. Speaker, in my last two budget addresses, I stated that this government will introduce a tax on vacant and abandoned properties starting in the city of Roseau. This has been endorsed by several stakeholders, including city residents, members of the DIC, other businesses and institutions. In preparation for this measure, we have provided early notice and also reduced the land transfer fees to encourage owners of these properties to address any property ownership issues. 2 years after the first announcement, we are ready to implement the first phase of the abandoned property surcharge on vacant and abandoned properties in Roseau, from the Roseau River to High Street, excluding Goodwill, Bath Estate, Emsall, Monbruce, Kingshill, and Newtown. The surcharge will be applied at a rate of 50 cents per square foot per year, payable by August 20 every year for the immediate 12 months ending July 31, or part of the 12 months when the property was vacant. This surcharge takes effect from August 1, 2022. Therefore, the first payment is due on August 20, 2023. This tax is payable to the Comptroller of Inland Revenue and will be in addition to the taxes due to the Roseau City Council. Mr. Speaker, this is not a revenue measure. We're not going to get any revenue from this, really. Instead, it is for the safety and health of residents and the users of the city, and to improve its service. We cannot have abandoned buildings producing rats and cockroaches in our city. Something has to be done about this. And I believe the Parliament has a responsibility and a duty to do something about it, Mr. Speaker. And so it is our hope that the introduction of this surcharge will encourage owners to put their properties into good use. I take this opportunity to alert property owners in other prime and heavily populated areas that it is government's intention to extend the surcharge to other parts of the country on a phased basis. Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, we announced the removal of VAT and import duty on pleasure crafts and excursion boats measuring at least 45 cubic meters and the engines in order to begin stimulating economic activity in that area. This year, Mr. Speaker, to further stimulate yachting activities, we are taking this initial measure one step further. With effect from September 1, 2022, we will remove all duties, taxes, levies, and charges on all pleasure crafts and engines or pleasure crafts imported into Dominica. Increased number of vessels anchoring in Dominica for extended periods will result in increased employment and business opportunities for Dominicans, help diversify and sustain the economy, and create yet another avenue for Dominicans to recreate. And I want to thank people like Carl Nassif and Mr. Louis Johnson and Condell Williams for their engagement with me on this matter. In addition, Mr. Speaker, with effect from September 1, 2022, we'll create a small ships registry open to small pleasure boats of up to 75 feet long at a cost of US $250 for 1 year or US $650 for 3 years. Fee will be payable online via the government payment portal. This small ship registry will only be open to pleasure boat owners from Dominica, other CARICOM member states, the Dutch St. Martin, and the French overseas territories of Martinique, Guadeloupe, Marie-Galante, the Saints, and St. Martin. Qualifying pleasure craft owners must present evidence of ownership and insurance. No maritime inspection and no cruising permit will be required. Mr. Speaker, this measure will encourage pleasure craft owners from neighboring islands to register their vessels and make Dominica their home. And again, I want to recognize people like Gage and Kimo Astafan and Daniel Perryman and Ian Edwards for their advice on this matter. Mr. Speaker, when VAT was implemented in 2006, government exempted the import and supply of agricultural inputs, equipment, machinery, and other products used in agriculture. We exempted motor vehicles imported by qualifying farmers from excise tax. Import duties had already been removed on these goods. To support our efforts in achieving increased production in agriculture, effective September 1, 2022, government will also remove VAT on agricultural tools and potting soils. And this was brought to our attention at one of the consultations which we held. And I think it was Miss Dawn Francis who raised this with us. Mr. Speaker, the maximum $10,000 grants to first-time home buyers and builders, which started in September 2020, will continue this year. An amount of $1 million has been allocated for this program to continue in this fiscal year, Mr. Speaker. From September 2022, government temporarily reduced the fees on the transfer or purchase of land. This reduction will be made permanent when the temporary measure expires. Therefore, effective November 1, 2022, the following fees will be applicable on the transfer of land: stamp duty 2%, judicial fee 1%, assurance fund 1%, fees to lawyer a maximum of 2.5%. The fees payable by the seller of the land will remain at 2.5%. This is a major contribution, Mr. Speaker. Putting millions of dollars back in the pockets of our people in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. In addition, Mr. Speaker, it has been brought to my attention that several individuals have lost their certificate of titles during Hurricane Maria and are having difficulty in obtaining a replacement title. This is so because the fees for the replacement title are similar to the new titles. The current government fees are as follows: assurance fee 1%, judicial fee 1%, stamp duty $7.50. In order to facilitate these individuals, with effect from August 1, 2022, such persons will only be required to pay to the government the lesser of the current fees, or $5,000. This means, Mr. Speaker, that the maximum a person will pay to replace a certificate of title in Dominica is $5,000. Mr. Speaker, as all of us are aware, the price of fuel has increased worldwide, and as a result of shortages caused by the Russia-Ukraine war. We are mindful of the negative impact on all residents. Therefore, effective May 2022, we began granting subsidies on the import of diesel and gasoline. Notwithstanding these subsidies, this government remains concerned of the impact of the increased fuel prices on people who provide transport services. For example, our bus, taxi, and truck owners. Therefore, government will grant a 50% reduction in the motor vehicle licenses on 1, public service vehicles used for carrying passengers, for example, taxi and public buses, and 2, trucks, dumpers, and trailers available for hire. This measure will be for 1 year, effective August 1, 2022 to July 31, 2023. In addition, Mr. Speaker, government will discontinue the highway maintenance levy, which was imposed in September 2015, also effective August 1, 2022. The discontinuation of the levy will result in savings of $100 for owners of private vehicles and $150 for owners of commercial vehicles, truckers, dumpers, and trailers. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, between these two measures, a minibus owner who currently pays $880, that is $750 for a motor vehicle license, and $150 for highway levy, will pay $365 on renewals. Will pay $365 on renewals between August 1, 2020 and July 31, 2023, thereby saving $515 over the next year, and also $150 thereafter. The savings are much higher for the lat truck drivers and dumpers. Mr. Speaker, the rising price of fuel has caused our electricity bills to increase sharply since January 2022. Whilst government is not in a position to remove all of the VAT charge on electricity effective August 1, 2022, we will increase the number of VAT-free units from 100 kilowatt hours to 150 kilowatt hours of electricity energy provided by DOMLEC to domestic consumers for billing period. Mr. Speaker, currently I have been advised that this measure will benefit the 14,534 domestic consumers whose consumptions are currently above 100 units. In addition to this, Mr. Speaker, effective August 1, 2022, there will be no VAT on fuel surcharge charged on Dominic bills. This means, Mr. Speaker, that VAT on fuel surcharge on Dominic electricity services will be zero rated from August 1, 2022. This complete removal of VAT on fuel surcharge on electricity bills will apply to all categories of consumers, namely domestic, commercial, industrial, government, and hotels. Mr. Speaker, this measure will assist all of Dominic's customers, except those who are already receiving the VAT-free service. Dominic is working on recommissioning the Pardo Hydro Plant, which has been out of operation since Hurricane Maria. It is expected that this plant will be operational by November 2022. This will provide further relief by reducing the amount of diesel-generated electricity and thereby reducing the fuel surcharge. In the current global climate, many governments, Mr. Speaker, are increasing taxes or asking the citizens to carry greater burdens. This Labour Party government is not taking money from our people. We are putting money in people's pockets. We are placing confidence in and investing in the people of Dominica. In turn, we ask only of your best effort, your kindness and courtesy towards each other, and for your support and cooperation in the national interest. I have spoken at length to our achievements in the last fiscal year. Achievements that were hard fought for in a difficult global environment, and achievements that were hard won on behalf of every Dominican and resident of this country. In framing our efforts to achieve development that is sustainable, we must be clear about the foundation on which we are building our social stability and economic growth, and how these will be underpinned by principles grounded in the protection of our natural and built environments. We must be unrelenting in building the foundation and structure of national resilience, always asking the questions: how do we become resilient as a nation, as communities, as individuals? How do we build toughness, our capacity to withstand external shocks, to recover from these shocks quickly and with the least possible harm to infrastructure, property, life, and livelihoods? How do we contribute to put our people, how do we continue to put our people first and at the center of national development? The government has determined that the foundation of our development will be the people of Dominica, ensuring access to quality healthcare, education, and opportunity. We are investing in the people of Dominica and building the country's social capital because of this government's unwavering confidence and determination to achieve all that the Almighty has ordained for this nation and its citizens, and we claim them. The agricultural sector, as a traditional bedrock of our community, a strong base for meeting regional needs for food and nutrition security, and the core of the Nature Isle. The digital economy, which is transforming the way in which people live, work, recreate, and socialize, creating greater efficiencies, expanding business and economic opportunities, democratizing the marketplace, empowering individuals and as an agent in their own cause, and is central to what people refer to as the future of work. The renewable energy transition, to give people and businesses an ease in energy costs and to serve as a lever for greater economic growth while reducing our national carbon footprint. The tourism sector, it is a clear taker of agricultural products and environmental services, as well as for revenue and foreign exchange earnings, job and wealth creation. This new international airport has a major role in the national tourism strategy. The small business sector contributes to jobs, community empowerment, the upliftment of families, and a provider of new activity and services. They are at the heart of national growth. Resilience building at every level of society, economy, and environment, in every sector and community. I have today, my dear friends, my dear Dominicans, spoken to how we will build a future on a solid foundation, how we will protect, secure a prosperous Dominica for all Dominicans. External and natural shocks have caused us to stumble and fall in our efforts and aspirations for development. But we have never stayed on the ground, and we shall never stay on the ground for 60 years. We have gotten up, joined hands, and looked to the task ahead in faith, in the quiet assurance that it is not beyond us. And in faith, after each fall, we have risen stronger, more resilient, more successful, more determined, holding even more firmly to our personal dreams and our national aspirations. Mr. Speaker, a Caribbean writer, Rosal Thompson, puts it this way, and I quote, "Never give up. It's not that we fall, it's how we rise. Sometimes you have to take night and make day. When one door closes, many others will beckon you. Perseverance and determination can break any barrier. It's not how others see you, but how you see yourself. So crystallize that vision of you," end of quote, Mr. Speaker. We are firmly on the road to building a resilient Dominica, to building a sustainable Dominica. We have achieved much in the worst of global circumstances. Together, let us keep fighting for our future, for a dynamic Dominica that is a beacon state in the Caribbean and among small island developing states. When we join hearts, hands, minds, and effort with Almighty God, nothing can defeat us as a nation. Nothing can stop us from rising. Nothing can stop our forward march for our seniors, for our youth, for our future, for our environment. This is the agenda, commitment, and promise of the government of Dominica to all the country's people, whether at home or abroad. Let us rise above the challenges. Let us see far beyond the horizon. Let us embrace every opportunity. Let us lift our eyes to the hills, to the mountains of this country, from whence cometh our help, knowing that our help comes from God, and with Him, He will build and live in dynamic Dominica. May God continue to bless our country, Dominica. May God bless all our efforts. I thank you very much.
That the debate on the motion be adjourned to Wednesday, July 27 at 10 a.m.
It has been moved and seconded that the debate on the motion be adjourned to 10 a.m. Wednesday, 27th July 2022. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, 27th July 2022.